Today, we're going to be talking about the full moon in Pisces. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the 4 things you need to know to make the most of this lunar cycle and be able to create the reality of your dreams. We're also going to talk a little bit about astrological transits, and we're also going to do a tarot reading at the end of this video. So let's get into the full moon in Pisces. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, make sure to do that, and let's get into the topic. All right, so for the full moon in Pisces, there are a few things that we're coming through that are really important for us to know. Because when we know what the energies are asking us to honor and work with, then we are in alignment with the universe and the cosmos. And when we're in alignment with the universe and the cosmos, we activate the law of attraction. We start being in alignment. And when we're in alignment and when we're in flow, that is when things start to come and flow into our lives. When we try to control or bring our ego into the process, then we sometimes get in the way of universal intelligence and things get delayed that we're trying to call in. But when we're in flow, we're working with divine intelligence and in flow with that. And so our desires come to us significantly faster and significantly smoother and easier and more joyfully. So let's start with the 4 things that we must know during this lunar cycle. So the first thing is it's important to trust in the process. Now, before we get into what exactly that means, think about a time when maybe there was a process in your life that you started to do, and then you lost faith in it over time because results were taking too long. And then you dropped the process, moved on to something else. A year went by or 2 years went by, and you looked back and you thought, man, I wish I had just stuck with that system. I would be so much farther now if I had stuck with it then instead of jumping from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. It's really, really important that we trust the process in our life because that is what allows us to stay on track. When we don't trust the process, we start going off track. We start making different decisions. And again, that can get in the way of the universe. So trust the process, make yourself a little bit more predictable to the universe. And if you do that, you will get many, many blessings. Now, specifically for this lunar cycle, why it's important that we do this, why we trust the process, is because there is something that you are getting from the path that you are on. Say you are working with a friend, or maybe you're working at work, or maybe you're in a relationship, and they have a strategy about how they want things to go about, or they have a vision for what they want to have happen. Now, you might be a partner in this situation, and you might feel like, I don't think that strategy is really going to work for us, or I think our vision needs to be tweaked. Trust the process anyways. Because even though you might be right, you should always trust yourself as well. There is something that you will learn in the journey of whatever path you are on. And there's some key nugget that is really important for you that when you learn that or gain that experience, it's going to serve you down the line in life. So it's really important that you trust the process at this time because you don't want to miss that nugget and then wish 3 months from now, 3 years from now, oh man, if I just gone down that path, I would have gotten a flow of this thing, or I would have learned this one thing, or would have met this one person, and my life would be completely different. So trust in the process. That is the first thing to keep in mind. The second thing is realize how loved you are. So Pisces is the final sign in the zodiac. It is the most spiritual sign. It is the sign, as they say, that has already gone through every one of the other signs and developed. It is its most spiritually developed and mature sign. And that means that Pisces is very connected to universal forces. And it's really connected to divine love. And it's really important that during this full moon that we harness that energy and we step into it and we lean into it. This is also a full moon. The full moon is this big, huge moon, and this happens to be a supermoon, so it's extra big and extra bright. That's how it's going to appear to us. So it really wants to be seen in the sky. That's what is being illuminated, what wants to be illuminated, what wants to be seen, and what wants to be recognized. Full moons are often a time that we celebrate something. We celebrate the fruits, the rewards of all of the efforts from before. So when we combine celebration with this final sign, which is so spiritual and all about love, we want to make sure that we are recognizing how loved we are. So during this next 7 days of you watching this video, make sure that 3 times a day for the next 7 days, you notice in your life little ways in which you are being shown love, whether that is love from another person, whether that is love from one of your pets, whether that is love from some sync that is given to you from the universe. However love shows up for you, notice it 3 times throughout the day for 7 days and really harness that energy. If we don't notice the love that we have, we start getting down on ourselves. We start making decisions that do not serve us because we're making it from a less clear place, a less elevated place. And that can lead us down paths that we don't really need to go on. So it's really, really important that you focus on this aspect so that you keep your vibration high, you keep your mentality high, and you keep moving forward in a direction that is truly going to serve you down the line. The third thing that we need to keep in mind is that hidden enemies are not so bad. Now, enemies, sure, okay, not so great, but the hidden part is the key word here. Now, a lot of times, whenever we think about enemies or hidden enemies, we want to know exactly who it is. We want to know exactly what they're planning. We want to know exactly how they're going to operate. And that's because our ego is getting involved. And when we know who they are, like in Virgo, Virgo's the sign or the house for known enemies. When we know who they are, we get very planned. We start planning too much. We start structuring around it. We start molding ourselves to that kind of dynamic. We start becoming reactive. And when we become reactive instead of proactive, that is when we start falling off of our path again because we're trying to control a scenario. We're getting caught up in the gunk of life. And we stop operating from a clear, elevated, grounded place. And that can, again, lead us off of our spiritual path. And Pisces, full moon in Pisces is all about the spiritual path, and that's what wants to be illuminated. So during this period of time, know that hidden enemies are not a bad thing. Because when they're hidden, you don't even know what's going on. And sure, they might do things to thwart you, but your energy is in a more peaceful place, a more grounded place. And every action that you're taking is not a reaction to something or someone else. It's not a reaction to lower vibrational energy. It is just an action that you are taking from your own focus. So it is an action that you're moving forward with that is more in alignment with the universe. And when we take action in alignment with the universe, our efforts are going to pay off no matter what anybody else is doing. So see the blessing in hidden enemies. Sucks that there's enemies, but see the blessing in the hidden aspects. Don't try to get your ego involved and try to figure out who, what, when, where, why. Keep focusing on yourself and know that this is actually serving you when it is hidden. The final thing to know before we get into the transits and then the tarot card reading is this is an important time to release judgment. Pisces is that spiritual sign. It is about love, and that means that we must release judgment. And I've already noticed that this is happening in my life. I've noticed that the friends that I'm bringing into my life are significantly less judgmental than maybe ever before in my lifetime. And partly that is because I have curated my friends to be of that nature, which also is an indicator that I myself am becoming less judgmental because that's not the energy that I'm really calling into my life or really entertaining into my life anymore. So this is a really important time to release judgment. That also means releasing judgment of the self. The opposite sign of Pisces is Virgo. Virgo is a sign of a lot of harsh self-judgment. And sometimes Virgos can be known for judging others and sometimes making negative remarks about other people. And that is because they judge themselves even more harshly. So that is the opposite sign of where we are, which means that we're supposed to focus on the opposite. We're supposed to focus on releasing that judgment so that as we enter into a new cycle, because Pisces is the last time, when we reach Virgo, we don't have as much to judge ourselves on or to judge others. So think about in your life, how are you already releasing judgment of yourself and or of others? Or in what ways can you start releasing more of it for yourself and for others? All right, let's talk a little bit about some astrological transits. So obviously Pisces, the moon, is going to be in Pisces during this time, Pisces full moon. But we also have at this time Saturn in retrograde in Pisces and Neptune in retrograde in Pisces. So Neptune in retrograde in its sign of Pisces is about really tapping into that spiritual aspect of ourselves. So I feel like not only are we entering into a new lunar cycle with the full moon kind of being the pinnacle of the center of the cycle and then coming back around to the new moon, which is the beginning of a new one. But also we are in a time where we are assessing our relationship to spirituality, because a retrograde has us assess that aspect of our life. We're assessing our spirituality. We're assessing the illusions that maybe we have allowed ourselves to be under. We're assessing our feelings about those illusions. Do we feel like we've been duped? Do we feel like we were fools? Do we feel like we were manipulated without realizing it? Or do we honor the hidden enemies and the gift that that brings as well? And then with Saturn also in retrograde in Pisces, the spiritual house, this is a time where we're not being so disciplined about our spiritual practice. We are, because it is Saturn, we like to have discipline and structure, that's important, but we're also allowing flow, and we're starting to find more of that balance because it is in retrograde, Saturn. So in what ways are you bringing more flow into your spiritual practice or into your life and starting to trust more? And in what ways are you bringing more structure? And are you leaning more to one side or the other? And how does that feel for you right now? Does it feel like it's working? Does it feel like it's in alignment with you? Or does it feel like, there's a little bit more clunkiness going on? If there's clunkiness, then maybe balance it out with more flow or more structure, depending on which side you're leaning towards right now. You don't have to have perfect balance. It doesn't mean you have to be exactly perfectly structured 50%, exactly perfectly in flow 50%, because everybody's balance is going to be different. Some people have more fire and action in their energy, and some people have more water and flow in their energy. So everybody's balance is going to be a little bit different, but it's about finding your balance. It's about taking the lessons that you have learned throughout this entire cycle, because Pisces have learned all the lessons after being all the signs, taking those lessons and really understanding who you are and what brings you alignment and joy and what works for you, and assessing all of that, again, because Pisces, Neptune is in retrograde. So reassessing, revisiting, re-looking at. Okay. So that is our discussion on the astrological transits. So now let's do our full moon in Pisces tarot reading. So in the center, we have the Nine of Swords. On the left, we have the Page of Cups. On the right, we have the Lovers. And bottom of the deck is the Two of Wands. So taking a look at the Two of Wands first. This is definitely a time when we're wanting to think about what our vision is going to be going forward. How are we going to look at the world? How are we going to work with the cosmic forces? What about us has transformed and changed? What do we used to do that we no longer do today? These are really important questions because a lot of change has happened, and it's all been really positive, even if it actually came through really difficult means. And the Nine of Swords tells me that maybe some change has been coming through very, very difficult means. Some things that keep you up at night, some things that you don't know why they had to happen that way. Some very intense experiences may have been happening over the past 2 weeks for some of you, and over the past year for others of you. So it hasn't been easy, but there are gifts that are coming for you. The universe wants to show you some sign that you have been going about things the right way. You've been doing things, you've been on your path, you've been doing your best, and they're asking to have trust in them, trust the process, keep going, because the process is important even when it seems like it's not working. And it's important to follow the process, not only when it's working, but also when it's not. Because if we follow it when it's not working, it's still going to lead us to the other side. It's going to be that thing, that tether that allows us to find that light at the end of the tunnel. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel because we do have the Lovers. And again, that the Lovers card is showing us that Spirit is here. They are supporting us. They hear our cries. They hear our woes. They hear our gratitude. And the Lovers is showing us that we are being heard. Just keep going. So I hope that this video served you all. If you haven't already given this video a like and a subscribe, please give me a like and a subscribe. I would love it if you would leave me a comment below. If you don't know what to comment, then just give me an emoji and I'll give you an emoji back. And if you would like to get a personal reading from me, you can do so at my Etsy shop at www.etsy.com/shop/psychicts. I have over 700 readings on that platform alone, and I do read on other platforms, and I have over 200 5-star reviews on that platform alone as well. So if you're interested in that, I will see you there. If not, I will see you in the next video.